Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 with my initial reaction to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Now, I haven't been able to watch the F2 yet, but I have finished the F1. It's just finished now. So let's talk about it. At the start of the race, we had Sergio Perez in pole with Fernando Alonso alongside, and Alonso immediately took the lead. Another bad start for Checo, the second in a row now. But it came back that Fernando Alonso had an incorrect starting procedure infringement, which gave him a 5-second penalty. And upon the replay, it's very obvious what he did. He was just far too far to the left, which seems like quite a simple mistake that could be corrected, especially when you know that the FIA are cramping down on these kind of issues all the time. For him to go that far to the left, where it's very visible from the camera that he's too far to the left, it seemed like quite a stupid mistake to make from Fernando. As it would go on, we would see that it wouldn't really be that much of an issue at all. Piastri has contract right at the start. I think it was off the back of the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. That leads into a very early pit stop, and his race was kind of done from there. Perez was able to take the lead from Fernando Alonso around about lap 4. But further back, Leclerc was making great moves through the field. A fantastic overtake for P8 from Pierre Gasly from Charles Leclerc. Lots of cars at this point appeared to pit really, really early for the hard tyres. The likes of Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Bottas, Zhou all started on the mediums and were pitting very, very, very early for the hard tyres. Even before Charles Leclerc, who started on the softs, the hard tyres seemed to be kind of done. And then, on top of that, it was the medium tyres that seemed to be done, and they were lasting a lot shorter than the softs. Even in the Ferraris, the Sainz, who had started on the mediums, pitted before Charles Leclerc, who started on the softs. So the mediums just weren't really doing it in terms of what the guys had expected around Saudi Arabia. This is when Lance Stroll was out of the race. Initially, it seemed like it was some kind of maybe a gearbox issue, but there seemed to be a bit of smoke coming out the back of the car, leading me to think that maybe there was an engine issue there. But to be honest, it wasn't a great race for Stroll, even before the DNF. He kind of was tricked by Ferrari to pit a bit early. He didn't seem to have any pace at all. When he retired, he had pitted, I think he was around about P10. Without the pit stop, he would have been about 6th or 7th maybe, whereas Alonso was in 2nd place. Really not a great race weekend for Lance Stroll at all. That's even before you even take into consideration the fact that he didn't finish the race. As we carry on, this brought out a safety car, which allowed Fernando Alonso to serve his penalty behind the safety car. Very lucky for him, although after the race, the stewards have said that they're looking into this due to the rear jack maybe touching the car before the penalty was served. From the replay, it looks like the rear jack was touching the car before the penalty was fully served, but will they take that into as breaking the penalty, because it wasn't really having service on the car, it was just getting the jack in position. I think it'll be very strict if they do give him a 10-second penalty, which is what they gave to Ocon, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did this. Off the restart, Verstappen is in P4 now. Perez is leading from Alonso to Russell and then Max Verstappen. And it was a fantastic restart from Checo. He was away. Fantastic job from him. And then a great overtake from Lewis Hamilton on Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton had been kind of anonymous in qualifying, but in the race he did have a fantastic race. This is when we had a beautiful move from Max Verstappen onto George Russell to get that first of the podium positions in P3. And by lap 25, he'd caught Fernando Alonso and was in P2. This is when we have Alex Albon, who said he has a brake issue. In one straight, he went from P13 to P18 before actually retiring the car back in the garage at lap 29. This is when Lewis Hamilton starts to catch George Russell a bit. Now, George Russell is begging for no team orders at this point in the race. He's right behind Alonso. He seems to think that Alonso still has the 5-second penalty. At this point, he'd served the 5-second penalty, and there was no real rumours of him serving it incorrectly. So his engineers very much like, Alonso served his penalty, what are you going on about? Russell does pick up the pace from there. We are still yet to see an out-and-out Hamilton-Russell battle in the year and a bit since they've been teammates. And I thought we were going to get it here, but we didn't, because from this point, Hamilton was catching him, but since Russell was told that Alonso didn't have a penalty, and he kind of picked up the pace a little bit, Hamilton was not able to catch George Russell off of there. We get a fantastic battle between Hülkenberg and Sargent for P12, but in the end it seems like Sargent was maybe pushed his tyres a bit too much. He wasn't able to get in front of Hülkenberg, and then by the time that he realised he wasn't getting in front of him, his tyres were just gone. So there was nothing coming from Hülkenberg there. Bottas then stops on lap 36 for a set of soft tyres, and he just went nowhere. He pitted for a set of softs. I thought maybe he was trying to get the fastest lap, even though he wasn't even in the top 10. From there, he was about 30 seconds off the back of the McLarens at the back. He really just wasn't doing anything with Bottas. It wasn't a great race for him. Max Verstappen starts complaining of vibrations with about 11 laps to go. Nothing really came of that, though. There was a fantastic battle between Magnussen and Tsunoda for the final points position. That was eventually won out by Kevin Magnussen. And then we get to the final lap, and Sergio Perez takes the win. He was about 5 seconds ahead of his teammate Max Verstappen in second place. Then Fernando Alonso finishes up in third place. But of course there are those conversations in the background about maybe a 10-second penalty for Alonso, which would see him go to fourth and give Mercedes and George Russell their first podium of the year. Overall, it was a good race. Let's have a look, go through the final results now. So we have DNFs for Lance Stroll and Alex Albon. Valtteri Bottas is the final last place of the cars who were running at the end. Really is not doing anything for Valtteri. I don't really know what he was doing at the end of the race there. The only car to get lapped. Then it was Norris in 17th. Norris, who was having some fantastic battles with his teammate Oscar Piastri towards the end of the race, but Oscar Piastri was the faster one and got ahead. Logan Sargent finished up in 16th, despite starting 20th. Good race for Logan. I thought he did well. He was obviously very unlucky in qualifying, and we're still waiting to see that great performance from him, but I think he can easily get points in that Williams if he had the perfect weekend. Piastri finished 15th. The only interesting thing between Piastri and Norris here is Norris was challenging Sargent for a very, very, very long time, and even with DRS, that McLaren was not faster than the Williams. But when Piastri was able to go ahead, Piastri didn't stay behind Sargent for too long. Piastri the better of the two McLarens, I felt, this weekend. Nick de Vries finished up in 14th place. It was Zhou Guanyu in 13th. Nico Hülkenberg managed to retain 12th place. Yuki Tsunoda 11th, just getting outside the points on the last few laps. Kevin Magnussen finished 10th, getting the first points for Haas this season. It was Gasly 9th, and then Ocon, so the two of the Alpines in a row. Then it was the two Ferraris in a row, 7th for Leclerc, 6th for Sainz. Then it was the two Mercedes in a row, with 5th for Lewis Hamilton, 4th for George Russell, and of course the podium. 3rd is Alonso, 2nd is Verstappen, 1st is Sergio Perez. Verstappen was able to get the fastest lap on the final lap, meaning that he stays ahead by 1 point in the drivers' standings. Let's have a look. Is there any other major change in the drivers' standings? George Russell is now 4th from Carlos Sainz, so it's Verstappen 1st, Perez 2nd, 3rd is Alonso. It's Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Stroll, Leclerc, Bottas, Ocon make up the top 10. Then it's Gasly, Magnussen, Albon are the last ones to score points. So we still have 6 guys in Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Sargent, Zhou, De Vries, Piastri, Norris, who are yet to score points. And in terms of the teams, Red Bull are leading the way by quite some margin in terms of the constructors, but in second place it is Mercedes and Aston Martin who are equal on points as of right now. Actually, that has just changed. That's changed to Mercedes being ahead by 41 points. Has Alonso's been given the penalty? Wow, okay, that's just come in now as I'm reading this. Fernando Alonso has been given the 10-second penalty, which puts him 4th and George Russell 3rd, which means that Mercedes are now 2nd in the constructors' standings from Aston Martin 3rd. It's Ferrari, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams, with Alfa Tauri and McLaren yet to score points. That's as it stands right now. So it's been an exciting race, been an exciting time. That's all we've got here for this. I'm going to go and try and watch the F2 now. So if you're interested in F2, make sure you hit subscribe and I'll give my review on that. That's my review of Saudi Arabia right now. Driver of the day, I think, goes to Max Verstappen. 15th place to 2nd. Great job for him. Still in the lead of the championship. We'll be back again for the F2. And then, of course, we've got the driver rating. So that's all to come. So I'll see you then. Goodbye.